Dearbhail, we're less than a month away from the itic conference. It's on September 25th in the Dublin Royal Convention Centre. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I am indeed. I've now become to be able to adjust my calendar around the itic conference. I'm reluctant to call myself a veteran anything, but it's always been a highlight of the year of what has nearly, not quite been, maybe 8 or 10 years associated with you all. So yeah, I'm really looking forward
Yeah.
to it, and in particular because there's always a great lineup.
Yeah, and it's a good lineup this year, isn't it? Because we have a mixture of politics, policy, a bit of entertainment, a lot of industry stuff. There's a lot going on. I suppose one of the interesting ones I'm looking forward to is Minister Catherine Martin will be there. She'll be talking to you. It'll be less than a week before the budget.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. What has now become my annual sit down with Minister Martin, who's always formidable in our discussions. But I think it's going to be really interesting. Just the proximity of this year's conference to the budget means that all eyes are going to be on this conversation, not least for what you have to say about the tourism industry, but I think the economy overall. So I'm very much looking forward to the opportunity to discuss
and
that with.
We'll be relying on you to twist our arm about the 9% VAT rate.
Yeah, the ever-returning 9% VAT rate. I often think a little bit like Margaret Thatcher, sometimes the lady's not for turning, but let's see how we get on with that.
Absolutely. And one of our keynote speakers is John Sopel, who, of course, was North American editor with the BBC, has got a huge podcast, The News Agents. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think with John, John is just one of those master communicators and someone with an incredible knowledge. And I think that all of us, no matter where we are, will be looking to what will probably be in the US, one of the most consequential elections, not just for the US, but right across the world. And his insights into that, I think, will be invaluable. And I'm very much looking forward, slightly maybe feeling a little bit intimidated, but very much looking forward to speaking to such a distinguished colleague.
Yeah, maybe you could become a guest on the News Agents and get worldwide fame.
Who knows?
And then staying in North America, we also, of course, have John Concannon, who is currently the Irish ambassador in Ottawa in Canada, but we would know him previously from his involvement with the Wild Atlantic Way and the Gathering, and he's a great friend of tourism.
It's really interesting because although the Wild Atlantic Way has many mothers and fathers and has spawned lots of successes, I suppose forever John Concannon and his colleagues will be associated, along with many others, with the creation of the Wild Atlantic Way, which was just an incredible way to brand one of the regions of this island. It's been fantastic. I travelled on it recently and just thinking how that little W has just become a sign that we instantly recognize, and even driving it all across the regions, that ability to package and market ourselves, really the ingenuity that went into that is fantastic, and that's why it's being aped and I suppose replicated elsewhere. John is a very entertaining character, and I think that he will bring a lot to the conference just in terms of how we see ourselves and how the world sees us, and I think that will be interesting to get those lessons as he embarks on a new journey of his own.
Yeah, and he's very, he tells a very good story about Ireland's soft power, which I'm really interested in. We also have Conor Kavanagh from Genesis. He's carrying out some bespoke research into the tourism sector, which I think is going to be very interesting for any attendees. And then we have a lunch, of course, and after lunch, we've got Oliver Callan doing one of his sort of sketches. And I'm looking forward to it, but also sort of half fearful because he'll probably take the mickey out of a lot of us.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see how Oliver Callan sends up the tourism sector. I'm hoping that he omits me from any of his characterizations. I've managed to evade it so far, but his insights are always very sharp, and sometimes satire and humor is the best way to poke a little bit of fun at each other, as well as the outside world.
Yeah. We, of course, have a tourism industry leaders panel. We have Paul Kelly from Fulch Ireland, Alice Manser from Tourism Ireland, Jim Power, the sort of renowned economist. We also have Anne O'Donoghue, who's the chief executive of the Irish Heritage Trust, but also deputy chair of ITIC. That's going to be an interesting one because it's been a difficult season in many ways. North America has been strong, but lots of the other markets have been soft. Costs of business are a huge pressure. So it's a tricky enough time for the tourism and hospitality sector. So how that conversation flows is going to be really fascinating.
The industry panel is always, for me, one of the most interesting parts of the itic conference, because that is where, and I think most attendees will get to agree with this as well, that's when you get to hear from the leaders and the key players in the field. And it's been my experience that they tend not to hold back during that panel. And that is really where the provocative ideas, some of the criticism, some of the solutions come. And I think that for most of the attendees, that is probably one of the most valuable parts of the conference.
Yeah, and we'll finish. The conference runs from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So it's kind of a nice sort of period of time, and we'll finish with Jess Kelly, who's well known as sort of an AI tech expert. Speaks a lot on News Talk, and that whole area of AI and tech and technology and innovation is changing everything. It's changing media, it's changing industry, it's changing certainly the tourism sector.
Yeah, AI, generative intelligence, all of that technological advancement is really important. No sector or part of our life is avoiding those changes. And I think it would be really, really interesting, as Ireland is the de facto capital in Europe, the home to so many of those technology companies. We're very, very blessed in Ireland to have journalists like Adrian Weckler, like Jess Kelly, who are really at the forefront of all of those things and have incredible insights. And I think that Jess, who is also really, really entertaining and great fun, will be a brilliant addition to the day.
Yeah. And I'm a bit of a dinosaur at heart, so I like the way Jess kind of speaks in sort of plain English and can kind of communicate to a broad audience.
Absolutely. Jess's communication skills are absolutely fantastic. You know, whether you're a pioneer or whether you're like me, you're a little bit late kind of adapting to technology. But I suppose that is one of her unique skills in presenting this in ways that we can understand. And I'm really looking forward to sitting down and having a little conversation with her.
Yeah, it should be a great day. Our chair, Neil McCarthy, will open it, and then we'll kick off with the minister and the rest of the agenda. It's going to be a great day, so we'd encourage everyone to book your ticket as soon as possible on itic.ie. Thanks so much, Dearbhail.
Thank you.